Her spirit radiated compassion and care, leaving a profound impact on those around her.
Tonight, the Manitoba Children's Advocate releases a report on a 16-year-old girl killed by Winnipeg police.
They're very eager, they're very proud to be here.
Algonquin band members learn how to fight wildfires.
I'm very excited, I'm very scared at the same time.
And overcoming stage fright for their Indigenous Day live performance. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Manitoba's Advocate for Children and Youth has released Mamangwa We Do Dagawin, or the Butterfly Project, a comprehensive 67-page report on the life and death of Aisha Hudson, who was fatally shot by Winnipeg police in 2020. Leanne Sanders has more on the report and its recommendations.
Aisha Hudson was 16 when she was shot by Winnipeg police on April 8, 2020, after a chase in a stolen Jeep. It all began with an alleged robbery at a liquor store. At the time, Hudson was the third Indigenous person killed by Winnipeg police in a span of 10 days. Children and youth advocate Sherry Gott makes 4 recommendations in the report that she believes will keep tragedies like Hudson's from happening again. They include developing protocols for police interacting with youth in crisis and creating a youth-involved public safety training strategy.
My hope is that when the police come to the table with us, that they will hear the voices of the youth and provide some solutions with respect to the ongoing relationships or lack of relationships that they have with the police.
Gott notes in the report that while Hudson was never charged with a crime, she had many interactions with police.
Like a butterfly fluttering from one flower to another, Aisha touched upon numerous service areas, but struggled to find support within these systems. Despite this, her spirit radiated compassion and care, leaving a profound impact on those around her.
The report includes the experiences of several youth who said interactions with police often involve violence and lead to distrust. Grand Chief Kathy Merrick of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs said it's important this report not get lost.
A lot of times we do reports and they collect dust without any feedback or participation from whomever.
In 2021, Manitoba's chief medical examiner called for an inquest into the death of Hudson, but so far no date has been set. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The Trudeau government introduced Bill C-53 on Wednesday. If passed, it will formally recognize the Métis governments of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario. But the legislation is controversial with pushback from some First Nations. In particular, they object to the government's recognition of the Métis Nation of Ontario. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Mark Miller says the legislation has been a long time coming.
These are people whose rights have been denied for centuries, and so the very basic trappings of an ability to organize yourself is the ability to have control over your self-government, and this is consistent with Article 4 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples.
But a number of First Nations in Ontario are questioning the Métis Nation of Ontario's inclusion in Bill C-53. They say the MNO is not a legitimate Section 35 holder of Indigenous rights, and earlier this week the Chiefs of Ontario held a press conference in Ottawa to let their views be known.
We have serious concerns about this legislation and its impact to our collective rights. Mr. Mark Miller and the Liberals are trying to silence the legitimate concerns of First Nations about this proposed legislation by taking the unprecedented and undemocratic step of trying to force it to the House and the Senate without debate.
MNO President Margaret Froh says she is saddened by what she is calling continued Métis denialism. She says the legislation should be viewed as a positive for all Indigenous peoples.
This is not a zero-sum game. The UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples talks about respecting the rights of all Indigenous peoples. Section 35 recognizes and affirms the Aboriginal and treaty rights of Aboriginal peoples of Canada, and that includes Métis, First Nations, and Inuit. There is no hierarchy.
Miller agrees and says there will be plenty of time to debate and analyze the bill as it now enters the committee stage after completing second reading on Wednesday.
First Nations have been an ally to Métis and vice versa. They have both been subject to the oppression of Canada. And this should not be another process in Canada creating the rife conditions for lateral violence. So, if there's anyone to blame here, it should be Canada. And, First Nations should not be in a position to have to blame Métis, and Métis should not have to be in a position to blame First Nations.
Debate on Bill C-53 will continue when the House of Commons resumes in the fall. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Federal ministers and Indigenous leaders gathered on National Indigenous Peoples Day in Ottawa to outline the action plan for the implementation of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. The federal government's action plan for UNDRIP has been divisive among some First Nations. Here's what the Indigenous leaders at the event had to say.
For almost a decade, the Government of Canada rejected the UN Declaration. And it's important to know that this government made that shift and then has worked with us since that day to figure out the best way to implement our existing human rights in this country.
With the announcement of the action plan, I am optimistic for the potential that it has to transform Canadian society. The action plan, as Minister Lametti stated, is a living document, and it represents significant progress towards fulfilling Canada's obligation to co-develop these measures. It also illustrates considerable steps that have been taken toward the exercise of Métis self-determination and self-government.
Bill C-15 National Action Plan has serious implications for inherent and treaty rights, as well as our First Nations Crown nation-to-nation relationship. And there are, as I mentioned, different positions being held by different nations across Turtle Island, which is now known as Canada. And this really reflects the diversity among First Nations within different regions of the Assembly of First Nations, a diversity that I'm proud to represent as National Chief.
We'd like to hear your thoughts about the federal government's UNDRIP action plan. Here's how you can weigh in. You can send us your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on our website. That's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Still in Ottawa, a major road artery in the nation's capital will soon get a name change. The National Capital Commission is responsible for the road, and it gave its final approval Thursday morning. The Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway will soon be renamed Kichizibi Mikan, Algonquin for Great River Road. The drive to rename the route began 2 years ago in response to the role Canada's first Prime Minister played in setting up the residential school system. The name was selected through consultation with local Algonquin First Nations and the public. Algonquin elder Claudette Commandant says it's a great start.
We are reclaiming what has always been ours. We are reclaiming what's rightfully ours. And for the board of the National Capital Commission, that it's very clear that they have the respect for the people of the land. They have respect for an understanding for what reconciliation, and this is just one step of many that needs to be done.
An unveiling of the new sign will be done in time for September 30th, the National Truth and Reconciliation Day. Time for a quick break. Still to come, a look at some firefighters in training.
They're very eager, they're very proud to be here, they really want to learn. They feel privileged to be here.
Welcome back. After their close brush with Quebec forest fires earlier this month, 32 Algonquins from Barriere Lake decided to learn to fight fires themselves. Amelia Fournier has their story.
Do you know how to properly get onto a moving helicopter? Pump water from a nearby water source. Coordinate multiple hoses to combat a fire.
Go, 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 move those legs, come on!
Have the strength to cut high-pressure water. That's what these auxiliary fire combatants in training are learning.
There's a lot of passion going on at the same time because people love the land, and these guys are used to the land, they're used to the bugs or anything, and so that's the concept here.
Warren Papati, an Algonquin of Barriere Lake, was in Gatineau as fires approached his community of Rapid Lake, Quebec, 270 kilometers north of Ottawa.
I felt kind of emotional because everyone else was being emotional, and they talk about the animals, they talk about the land. A lot of people hunts in the land, so that's the emotion we carry from that. So it's the reason why we're here.
He and 31 other community members traveled to Mont-Tremblant to learn what it takes to fight back.
Never keep cutting for more than 30 seconds. The pump's gonna stop working. It needs to be quick.
Teamwork and clear communication are just as important as water to extinguish the flames.
Smooth as fast, fast as smooth.
Joshua Payet of the SUPFER, Quebec's provincial firefighting service, has been showing them how it's done.
When you're in a very stressful situation, a lot of times things that are supposed to work very simply will not work just because you're stressing, your hands are shaking, things are going on around you. And what I'm trying to get them to understand is that just kind of focus on what you're doing, forget everything around. And if things are going too fast, slow down. Smooth is fast, fast is smooth.
He said their teamwork has been amazing.
They're very eager, they're very proud to be here, they really want to learn. They feel privileged to be here, and they want to prove to their communities they could fight these fires. So it's really fun to see.
Steve Wawadi, a member of the Algonquins of Barriere Lake Band Council, did the training 2 years ago and is getting recertified.
It's a good opportunity for these young guys. That's who I was thinking about, giving them that chance to get out of the community and go places and meet people, and get some work experience.
He reached out to the SUPFER to see if they could train Rapid Lake residents who wanted to help fight fires. The SUPFER told him training would start mid-June.
At the same time, all this was happening, people were evacuating the community, and then we had some community members stayed back to try to save the community somehow. They try to cut an open area so that the fire doesn't jump to the community, I guess.
The trainees also included one woman.
Pick it off. Go put it on over there.
It's been funny. All these dudes act like there's no girl around. I don't know. I mean, I've known all these guys my whole life, so it's kind of just hanging out with friends and family. But I know I have support when I need it too.
Vicky Jerome evacuated with her 2 sons when the fires approached.
Not gonna lie, it was pretty scary. I wanted to help, but I just didn't have the knowledge to, so it motivated me a lot to come out here and, take the initiative.
She said she's been gaining the knowledge to help fight fires the next time they come into the territory.
I wanted to be a part of the firefighting and, protecting our family land, our cabins, there's so much history out on the territory, and I have kids, and I wanted to be safe for them.
Jerome said she felt reassured by the SUPFER's safety protocols.
It doesn't seem as scary as I thought it was when I first got here. When we're on the ground, there's somebody looking after us, and there's someone looking after them and us, so there's levels of it all.
After their training week, they are now ready to take off. Amelia Fournier, APTN National News, Mont-Tremblant, Quebec.
Great training to have. Well, Inuvik recently played host to people from around the globe. We'll tell you why after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Lee Arcan sent in this photo celebrating her daughter and friend who won the Tiny Tots Special at the Oskayak Powwow in Saskatoon this weekend. Adorable, and congratulations. You can send your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at your Friday weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sunny and 30 in Fredericton, 23 in St. John's. Cloudy and 15 for Kuujjuaq, rain and 7 in Nain. 30 in Montreal, 32 for Val-d'Or. Sunny and 29 in Sault Ste. Marie, partly cloudy, 28 for North Bay. Rain and 25 in Thunder Bay, 32 under the sun in Timmins. 24 in God's Lake, Norway House and the Paw. Showers and 25 for Winnipeg, Brandon and Dauphin. Sunny and 26 for Regina, Swift Current and Saskatoon. 23 in Meadow Lake, showers and 24 for La Ronge. In northern Alberta, showers and 27 in High Level, 22 for Fort Chip. 22 with rain in Edmonton, showers and 26 in Lethbridge. Sun's out and 23 for Vancouver, 1 degree warmer in Victoria. 27 in Prince George, showers and 28 for Smithers. 19 in Old Crow, rain and 26 for Whitehorse. 23 with rain in Yellowknife, 13 in Norman Wells. +2 with snow in Sax Harbor, snow and 3 in Pawtucket. 8 with rain in Chesterfield, 19 in Baker Lake. +3 with snow in Resolute, +2 in Igloolik. Well, did you happen to catch last night's encore of Indigenous Day Live on APTN? I did, and again, one performance stuck out for me the second time around. Teenagers from Ganawage who took part in a songwriting and production program. Although it was their first experience creating music, their song The Fly landed a spot in APTN's Indigenous Day Live broadcast. APTN's Tamara Pimentel met with the group during rehearsals.
This is KLMP. Caitlin Cross, Lola Rosa McQuaid, Mercedes Deer, and Phoenix Lahash are all high school students from Ganawage near Montreal, Quebec. The quartet spent the better part of a year preparing for this performance of a lifetime.
I think our group is just like a bunch of kids that came together to write a song that we didn't think would go very far, but then we realized it reached out to like a lot of people.
I'm ready to fly, so break me out of my shell. From my light skin to blue eyes, my life's like a new time.
Our group really works because we have similar stories, yet different at the same time.
Writing and performing is a first for KLMP. They took part in a music production program through Ni Jinan Mobile Production Studio. After much collaboration, they created They Fly in hopes of demonstrating the struggles Indigenous youth face, what it's like growing up in Ganawage and leaving their communities to attend high school.
In most communities, there isn't a lot of high schools in the community, so going from a very like tight-knit community to like going out into the world into high school, which like there's also like language barrier, and then there's like learning preference and all of that, and because like there's already discrimination out there, it's harder for Indigenous students to acclimate into like different environments like that.
I feel like we're very underestimated. Yeah. Like especially in like the learning environment, I find that like we're very underestimated and not expected to be able to succeed the way other people do.
I'm feeling stronger.
KLMP performed They Fly at APTN's Indigenous Day Live broadcast.
I'm very, very excited. I'm very scared at the same time. It's a lot of people, and we've never done something like this, but I'm happy I am doing it.
My favorite part is definitely the writing and recording of the video. I mean the music, not the video. Like it brought us all together in ways that like we weren't like that before.
The group says they plan on creating more music with Ni Jinan to bring more stories of Indigenous youth to the main stage. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Awesome stuff. Looking forward to another song from you. The small Western Arctic community of Inuvik hosted people from around the world last week with its 4th Arctic Development Expo. As Carly Schnager reports, more Indigenous people turned out for this year's event than ever before.
With over 200 registered local and international delegates, the town of Inuvik held for 3 days 20 panels from across sectors focused on the Arctic. Organizers say it's their largest turnout since the event started in 2019, with the largest Indigenous presence.
Knowing our Quichinway of our music and our dances, but also
for Inuvik artist Bambi Amos, Dagiluk Aguran, it's been a summer tradition she's grown up with. She says attending the expo over the years has been part of the building blocks of her feeling comfortable to put herself out there as a full-time artist. Having an expo booth, this was her first year invited to speak on a panel on small business as fashion.
I spoke a little bit about barriers that artists can face, like the lack of knowledge and not knowing how to reach out for support in training, funding, and like even where to get materials from. Being from the coast of the Arctic Ocean, where we do have seals, and growing up eating it, and it's a personal thing for me, and it's so beautiful, and like, why not? Like, we're gonna eat the food, why not create beautiful artwork with the fur? Working with fur, seal skin, and beaver, and fox, and all the other furs. I got involved with Proudly Indigenous Crafts and Designs and NWT Arts. They started buying furs from Ulahuktuk. Yes.
Do you have any, as an artist, control to choose, like if you wanted to get it like
yes.
in? Yeah.
That's one of the perks of being a member of NWT Arts, so I totally encourage others to do so. This expo, it's the perfect opportunity for people to learn and find that information, not only from like the government programs or other grant funding, but also like an artist like me. I can share that information.
Panels range from satellites, Indigenous leadership to renewable energy, and it brought people from around the world.
I'm working with in Saskatchewan University in a project called MUST, and it's related to the issues in Arctic. So we are investigating the impacts of the climate change in the Arctic area.
Having recently conducted interviews in the nearby community of Aklavik, Fatima Ahmed says there should be more Indigenous representation in renewable energy projects who know the Arctic realities.
Helping people and to understand the effect of climate change, it's a must.
Our thanks to Carly Schnager for that. We have a much longer version of that story over on our website. You can find that at aptnnews.ca. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy, thanks for being with us. Have a great night.